political symposium cutting through the noise of the 2024 election. The War Room starts now.
Yes, it's the War Room. Bruce Gaydos, our panel today. Super best friend Chad Benson, the Chad Benson Show, 7 to 10 on KTAR. National talk show host Chad Benson. We've got Stacy Pearson. She's a Democratic strategist. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Sound like Biden, stumbling over my words. Chuck Coughlin, CEO, HighGround. How are you today?
I'm warm, but fantastic.
Good.
Oh, that's a good thing to be. Can I throw this out there? Can we pull the pin on the grenade and drop it in the middle of the table?
Yeah.
Will Biden last through the weekend?
No.
His life or his candidacy?
His candidacy.
Both.
Yes.
I'll lead. Yes, through the weekend for sure, because all of the European leaders are here right now.
Well, doesn't NATO stops like on Thursday?
Well,
I think,
and the Republican convention doesn't start till next
on Monday.
week.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna pull the pin, that's when to drop the bomb. That's when to drop that bomb.
Okay, I think certainly he's got to. They have to have some sort of an exit strategy. I would think that that's what they're working on now. But if you're watching the words from Joe Biden, A, you don't know what he's saying. B, it's I'm staying in the race. And I'm just like, there's no way you can't win. Now, I'm going to put you two on the spot. The last time I saw both of you, I'm pointing to Chuck and Stacy, I said, after that debacle of a debate, can he still win? You both said yes. Have you changed your mind?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
You changed your mind,
Why?
or you're still a yes?
No, look, the question that day was it an off day? Did he have a bad night, or was it the end of good days? And I think the latter, unfortunately, is the most likely scenario.
So when I asked you, do you still think he can win? You both said, I still think he can win. Do you both still think he can win?
I do.
Goodness
Wow.
gracious.
Chuck's still
I
in
do.
there.
How in the world do you think that
No
this guy
chance.
can still? He's got no shot.
No chance. No
Chad,
chance.
Why not?
First of all, they've lied to the American people for how long? You and I have been saying for well over a year he's not going to be the nominee. This guy has serious mental problems. I told you stories about my sources in the White House who were telling me he's wandering around a year ago looking for the house that he lives in, and they're taking him back. This was a well-kept secret. They can't keep it anymore. And you're voting for somebody for 4 years, 4 months, 4 days. We don't know. I don't think he has a shot at winning, and the polls are pointing out that is turning on him fast, and he just lost another senator who came out a little while ago. And the thing that hurt him the most today, George Clooney. Because the average person pays attention to George Clooney.
Well, the average person doesn't know who the junior senator from Vermont is.
No, but
By the way, I had to Google it.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, exactly.
And he's 100, by the way, too,
Yeah,
also.
of course
But
he
on
is.
the other side of it, Nancy Pelosi won't be recognized
No.
90% of the places she goes. But you know who will be? George Clooney. And him coming out and grifting everybody for $30 million, by the way. Can you get your money back?
Here's something I have a question about. And I heard Senator Bennett from Colorado. Again, nobody else knows. I Googled what state he was from.
He's a Democratic United States Senator.
Right. But he said this, and I thought this was interesting. He said, and he was speaking kind of in general to the Biden campaign, he said, after the debate, what is the strategy to win the election? Because I haven't seen one.
Yeah, they.
We're coming up on 2 weeks.
I know.
It feels like it's been 2 years.
Well, and it's been a beatdown for 2 weeks going. I mean, every national publication.
It's not slowing down.
Everybody is teed up on this.
But he's shooting himself in the foot every time he goes out in public.
And tomorrow is the big boy press conference, which is the worst strategy in the history of the world.
Which is what? He's having a solo press
He's
conference?
doing a solo press conference tomorrow.
And the fact that they call it the big boy press conference, they even
insane.
got Kirby going, it's the big boy press conference. You got his wife going, you answered all the questions and you know all the stuff. I mean, good God.
Chuck, I still want to hear from you. How do you think Biden can still win?
Well,
what's the
we're
game
here.
plan?
I mean, I do know this. The only poll that counts, this is in my experience, is the one on Election Day.
I get it.
And we have a lot of time on the clock.
118 days.
Oh,
Yeah.
I still
between
think there's
now
going to
and
be
then.
more my God moments.
And you know, there's going to be things that'll come out on Trump. There'll be new things that'll come out on Trump. I saw stuff the other day. I just said that can't be real, and so I'm not even going to talk about it. But I'm
Is
like,
it on the Trump side or the Biden
yeah,
side?
it's on the Trump side.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like disqualifying stuff. It's like you're like, what is going on here? And I just can't believe that there's not going to be a similar episode that takes place on the Trump
Chuck,
side.
isn't it true? And again, you understand kind of the polling and the politics side, as do you, Stacy, and for goodness sake, so does Chad. But both of them have a floor.
Yeah.
And both of them have a ceiling right now. And it's that gap in the middle that we're talking about. I always say this has nothing to do with people that
Well,
are
he's
flying
on the floor right now. Biden's on the floor.
Right, but my point is, we're 2 weeks after this, and he's polling at 43, 45%. That's the floor.
Yeah.
Any salient human being with D next to the name will be at about 43 to 45%. Because so much of that is probably anti-Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
It's not pro-Biden. Who's excited about Biden?
You know, we'll see. I mean, up until the last couple days, I've just been saying to myself, he's not leaving. I mean, he's stuck.
Agreed.
But
do you think if this press conference tomorrow
both
is an abject
editorials in
disaster?
the New York Times today.
Oh, boy.
I read
Nick Kristof just crushed his soul.
and
Stevens,
Olivia Nuzzi, too.
Brett
Nuzzi.
Stevens just
And these are people who
roasted him.
Friedman was the first one that fired that volley
have
at the New
been
York Times.
supportive.
Can you guys give me an example of him being roasted by one of them? You just mentioned 3 different names. By the way, we're inside the war room talking about Biden's brain.
Nick Kristof is not. He's a big writer. He's got all these prizes, Pulitzers, the whole 9 yards. Came out, said, "Look, I'm not an editor. I'm a journalist. I'm none of these opinion piece people." But he says the best thing for the country is he has to go. And he goes, when your whole campaign now is democracy is the thing that matters, and you can't function, and other people are doing your job, that's not democracy. And if that's the way it is, you're failing your message.
And Stevens' column was staring into the abyss. He has become Trump. He has become so self-centered that he does not see the rest of the country. He only sees himself. And there was iterations in that column literally about him running into people at fundraisers and doing the 100-yard stare.
Stacy?
And
Yeah,
just not there.
Olivia Nuzzi, however I'm saying this, from the New Yorker said the same thing. She's been covering him since he was a senator, and he walked up to her in February and asked, "What's your name, young woman? What's your name, young lady?" And
It's the 100th time they've met.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1,000th. I mean,
Right.
she was part of the press pool. She traveled with him on Air Force
I
One.
have an example that he was at a private fundraiser in California at somebody's home.
Oh, is this the one where we had to use a teleprompter?
So, now it's not unusual for a president to use a teleprompter.
Not at a
It is
fundraising.
unusual when you're doing it in the living room of somebody's house, and they
that
said
you've known for.
there was maybe 24 people there, and they said it was odd that he's reading off of a teleprompter.
Oh, my gosh.
In front of 25 people in a room.
You know what else? Dr. Tom Pitts, who's a big neurologist, I don't know if you guys saw him on NBC, where he says, I could have diagnosed him with Parkinson's from across the mall. He goes, and he broke down everything. Everybody's known he's got something. And the fact that, I don't know if is it the media, because there was always right-wing talking points, right? It was Russian disinformation. Everybody, the reason the poll numbers haven't moved that much is because the rest of the country goes, that's
Saw
not
that.
right-wing
Already
talking
aware of
points.
it.
Yep.
Everybody already knows that. Why aren't you guys asking serious questions about a man who is struggling in a way that
Okay,
everybody's
struggling.
has got an old family member's had a struggle like this.
Bruce and I were arguing about this last hour, the struggle. Is he unable to think or is he unable to speak? It's two different
Those are two
things.
different things.
Those are two different
I
things.
think he can't do either.
Well,
I think he's at that point, too.
the president of the United States of America needs to do both.
Right.
Really well, really unscripted at every turn.
Yeah, I lost my dad to Parkinson's, long time ago. And he had the disease for 22 years, and you could watch it progress. And it started, a shake in the finger, and then it progresses to the gait. Your gait, you can't move. I mean, you end up locking up on your body, and you can see that.
Like when he turns
right.
and stuff.
He gets
And his
very
arms,
stiff.
He doesn't swing his arms
right.
anymore.
And it's happening throughout his neurological system, and it also paralyzes your tongue, which my father at the end of his
Never
life.
heard of that.
My father at the end of his life couldn't swallow.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a problem. And so with his stutter, with all these things going on, I think it's probably insurmountable the case for him to be able to continue.
We're inside the war room. That's right. We've got
very worry.
It's.
You should see these guys get going.
You know, I mean, if you want, we declare war on something. But you know what? We've got, goodness sakes, we've got Chad Benson. We have Chuck Coughlin. We have Stacy Pearson. We're going to be right back. Here's a question for you guys. Is Arizona still a battleground state? The numbers argue it might not be. So I try not to get deep in the weeds in polling and data in July. Okay, I think it's a little early. It took me a while. Okay, but we saw some interesting movement with I would argue one of the more trusted, Charlie Cook, the Cook Report. Yep. And today, the Cook Report took 3 swing states and moved them from toss-up to lean Republican. Arizona's one of them. And with right now, Trump has on the average, about a 5.5 point lead.
In Arizona.
Is Arizona still a swing state? What's going to change that?
It's always been a red swing state. I mean, that
a
hasn't
red
changed.
leaning
a
swing
red
state?
leaning swing state, and it's you just look at registered voters, and there are 60,000 fewer Democrats this presidential election than 4 years ago. I mean, folks that are moving to Arizona are registering as independents, and that means something. They're coming from California. They were lifelong Democrats. They got mad about homelessness and traffic and all these local
taxes
issues
and all the stuff that they vote for.
Yeah, exactly. And then they come here and they're defiant in the party.
So the turnout this fall, our prognostication goes like this.
Okay.
36% Republican,
Yep.
32% Democrat,
Yep.
28% other.
Okay.
It's a
Only
Republican
28%?
state. Other, yeah.
In the state.
Yeah, this is a statewide
Maricopa
election.
County is a little has
Maricopa
different
County
numbers.
Maricopa County 64% of the electorate, so
Right.
it looks fairly similar to that.
Yeah, I think
But
independents are a larger group in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is it's still, to your point, it's still a Republican state.
Got it.
It's the brand of Republicanism that it's not attracting
It's
a large segment of Republicans.
Conservatarians, I call it. It's your bit conservative, bit libertarian, not hardcore to the right or left. So there's a little bit of that. My big thing is how many people, because I think this is going to hurt, when I watched Bennett today say, because he's the first one to come out on television and said, yeah, I'm going to say it out loud.
Senator Bennett.
Bennett. I'm going to say it out loud what nobody else is going to say. He needs to go. He goes,
because we're going to lose.
Yeah. He goes, not only are we going to lose, we're going to get boat raced in ways that I don't think people realize. And he goes, but the down ballot, we're going to lose the Senate, we're going to lose the House. And that's something else that I think a lot of these senators and congresspeople are going, well, we could pay a serious price for this down ballot.
I say this respectfully, and by that I mean I don't mean any respect, that the congressmen, the senators coming out right now talking about Joe Biden at the top of the ticket could care less about Joe Biden. They care about their own reelection.
Everybody cares about
That's all they care about.
100%.
And they're looking at the same numbers. Having said that, you're in a state where Trump is up by 5 and Ruben Gallego's up by 3 or 4. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense.
And Arizona's notoriously schizophrenic on its ticket. We're a place that it was in 2016. I ran the Penzone race. It was Trump, McCain, anti-Arpaio. So folks didn't vote straight red, straight blue, and that's a lot to do with the fact that we've got so many inbound
And the thing
migrants.
that I'm curious about, and I don't know about this, but how unpopular the current presidential ticket is. I mean, 80% of voters don't like it. So what does that say on down ballot races? Are there voters, because this doesn't normally happen, will there be voters that just say, not voting? I'm just moving
skipping
down.
at the top of the
Skipping
not
the
voting
I
top.
think
for
there's going to be
president.
voters who just go, I'm not even going to do anything. I'm just not showing
Staying
up.
home.
I don't know about that. I think there's so many issues on the ballot this time. There's the reproductive
Abortion.
rights issue on the ballot.
Women
And that's
women
a
are the
helper,
wild card.
and that's what the
Yep.
Republicans got to make sure that they're trying to soften their stance, which I think is a smart thing to do. But the reality of in a lot of states, you're going to have to get that on the ballot to make it worthwhile. Because if there isn't that one driving issue, I think some people are just going to go, I'm not.
Here's other, you're going to have
immigration.
You have the
will
Senate
be on the ballot?
seat. You have the two congressional seats that will definitely be in play.
Yep.
You have the House and the Senate in Arizona.
You have the homeless issue that's on the ballot too, which I think is big.
Both the House and the Senate are in play at the Capitol. So I think people will show up. My question is, do they just blow off the top of the ticket?
might.
They might.
We're inside the war room. It's
very worry in here.
Bruce and Gaydos, very worry. We've got Stacy Pearson, a Democratic strategist. We've got Chuck Coughlin, CEO of HighGround, and Chad Benson from the Chad Benson Show. So we've been talking about, is Arizona still a battleground state? Trump's up by 5.5 points in Arizona. Listen to the rest of the swing states. You guys ready?
Yep.
Nevada, Trump +5. Wisconsin, Trump +2. Michigan, Trump +6. Pennsylvania, Trump +5. Georgia, Trump +4. North Carolina, Trump by almost 6.
Yeah,
I mean, he's running away with it.
And
the
he's
Democrats.
doing well in Virginia, which I think is a little worrisome.
Yeah.
And Minnesota, by the way, he's closed it out into a single-digit kind of thing.
Yeah, there's been a couple
It's a
states
toss-up,
again
yeah.
that again, if for political nerds, Charlie Cook put from strong D to lean D. Like they're starting to come back towards the
Well, like
center.
we were saying, you got Biden on the floor right now. The Democratic Party.
Literally,
I don't
he's
know
on the
how
floor. Somebody pick him
up. He needs to be picked up. But this is, I think, we'll look back on this later in the year, and we'll look at this is the low point. This has to be the low point.
I don't think you're right.
I don't know.
What's the low point? Because this is, this, man. This doesn't get better.
This gets worse.
This doesn't get better.
If they switch, if there is a switch, it'll be monumental. It'll be
But
epic.
it doesn't get better. He's
But do you
not
think if
4
there's a
months
switch,
from now,
it'll
6 months from now?
But hold on. Do you think if they switch, it'll get lower?
No, it gets better. I mean,
Oh, okay, yeah.
for the Democrats.
For the Democrats.
If they have a convention that they can choreograph and be not a crazy convention that actually opens the door to a younger, more vital candidate, it could be Kamala. Kamala could lose on the first ballot.
I think she could lose on the first. But here's
right, and then it'd
but
be
when
open.
you sell everything as a lot of identity politics, are you really going to blow out a black woman?
No.
No.
Well, but these are delegates.
But
these are delegates.
does she get forgiven for being in the room with him?
That's the other side of it. You can spin it as
Speaking
you
gobbledygook.
lied to us for all these times. He's so vibrant. He does 5,000 push-ups and when nobody's looking, and he's also reciting poetry and writing, Shakespearean plays.
I think, Chad, you're right. I think the public, the American people, are ticked that they've been lied to for a year. And
Democrats for sure.
Press
and
is
everybody has
coming
said
hard.
he's fine behind closed doors, and we all knew he wasn't.
So my colleague at work came up with the following scenario.
Okay.
Elena Kagan, get her to resign, put Kamala on the court.
Fine.
Create a whole new ticket.
You could.
Great.
You could, but they're going to have to make some tough decisions, and they got to do it before.
You guys all miss the West Wing, is
And
what it
who
is.
wants that game?
Can you imagine all that going on? That's fantastic.
All right, well, coming up next, we're in the war room. Every Wednesday at 5, we will be in the war room. Why don't we talk about the man, Joe Biden? Okay? Has your opinion of him changed, considering how he's handled this debate debacle? Even people that liked Joe Biden, are we looking at him differently? Not because he can't speak, not because he can't think. It's because of what he's done to try and hold on to power. Make sure you're here every Wednesday, 5 o'clock, the War Room, from now until, well, probably past this 2024 election.
Now until forever.
It's Bruce and Gaydos. We've got Chuck Coughlin, CEO of HighGround. We've got Stacy Pearson. She's a Democratic strategist. And our buddy Chad Benson, the Chad Benson Show tonight at 7. Okay. Let's talk about the man, Joe Biden. People are changing their mind about him. Well, he's a good human being. He's a good human being. He's a good heart. He can speak to people in a way that many presidents couldn't do. And there are people that are now saying, yeah, no, I don't think that's really him. Here's Chuck Todd from NBC on Joe Biden. This is scathing. Take a listen.
It has made me want to rethink a lot of the Biden biography. I still can't believe he ran for president in the first place, given that his family was in crisis in 2018. You look at what has happened. I can't believe he put his family through this. And now looking at his behavior now in clinging to this, I think the entire narrative on Joe Biden is going to change, in that he's always been, everything has been about his ambition, and his ambition comes first.
Sounds like Donald Trump.
Sounds like everybody who's ever run for president.
Yeah, that was the principle of that Stevens column today. He's staring into the abyss, and the abyss is him. He's his own worst enemy. He has become a Trump, and that will be the thing that I believe will remove him eventually from this race.
It's a politician. And let's be real. Like you said, the ego side of it to even run for that.
To even run for president, you have to make it about yourself. How many times has he run for president?
You go back to the 80s, he's been running for president.
He's been running for quite some time.
So that is there. I think people are starting to think, well, maybe, the talk of democracy and all these things. It's not. It's about holding on to power. It's about holding on to, and look, there's a human side. I've been saying this the last couple of days. The human side of this, of having a cognitive ability for several hours a day and knowing that your life you're in overtime and it's coming to an end, and your being as what you've been for 50 years is coming to an end, and you're starting to realize that you can't function anymore and this is going away from you. That is, again, taking the keys away from grandpa is one thing. Taking the world away from the most powerful man in theory on the planet has got to be crazy. And then the human side of it, knowing that the end is nigh.
And I do know this by virtue of my experience in politics. Every politician is surrounded in a bubble. It is surrounded by loyalists and supporters.
Yes, men and women.
Well, that's exactly right.
Thank you very much.
It was the hardest part about working for John, because John didn't like receiving bad news.
John McCain.
That's Mr. McCain.
And it cultivated an environment around him where nobody would tell him the bad news.
Nobody tell him the truth.
And I believe that's exactly what we're looking at here. As Chad says,
absolutely,
it's a colloquy of people that are holding on to power and their authority because they think that this is good for them.
They rolled Dianne Feinstein out for God knows how long when the woman had no idea where she was, almost to her dying day.
Remember that there was audio that she thought she was giving a speech or something.
Yeah.
And they said, no, you're just supposed to vote yes on this. And she thought she was supposed to give a speech.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I will never forgive her.
Absolutely.
You had pancreatic cancer. We had control of the White House, the House, and the Senate, and you didn't bow out gracefully, and we got these lunatics? Like, one of the three, at least, is directly a result of her hanging on too long. It's unforgivable.
Biden has the chance to go down in history as one of the most selfish and power-obsessed presidents that we've ever seen.
Or
delivered us from MAGA.
Or exits the stage, delivers a convention that is an exercise in democracy, and provides a youthful-looking ticket.
If nobody was on his ticket, if he goes tomorrow in his big boy press conference and he delivers
the weirdest thing,
still the worst thing ever, the mumblingness, and he gets somewhat through it, and he's going to re-energize himself. But you've also got the yes people, and that circle's small. And the two people that could probably get him family-wise is Hunter and is Jill. Jill does
Valerie, his sister.
Yeah, Valerie is her. Yeah. Even if the Obamas, which apparently his close circle's already said, they've been telling him you've got to get out.
But he doesn't get along with the Obamas.
No, but I don't think he's going to listen to anybody.
No, he doesn't.
He's never forgiven him for Hillary.
The Hillary thing. Yeah, exactly.
We've seen people now turn their back on the president. We've got two sitting Democratic senators, one in Vermont, not the guy that we know, something named Pete Welch.
That guy's an independent anyway. But
then we've got
either in or there.
Then we've got the Democrat from Colorado, something named Michael Bennett, and so they're saying he can't win. He should bow out. You've got Hollywood that now have turned their back on him. George Clooney. I don't know how big a deal that is.
It's a big deal. He raised him $30 million.
Rob Reiner now says no.
You had Michael Moore this weekend. I said it best, and something I've been saying. That is elder abuse.
Yeah.
I would never let my father, my grandmother, my wife, or anybody else go out on stage and do that without. How do you do that?
Well. I mean, he's lost my mom. I mean, she'll vote for him if he's with Ted Williams' head in the cryo crypt over
in
there.
In
Scottsdale. But nonetheless, she would really like. Yeah, she would really like to vote for another Democrat.
Yeah.
I mean, she's on oxygen. Like she wants. She's like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this.
Here's something. If it was Nikki Haley instead of Trump, This would have been done a long time ago because she'd be up in 70 states. They would
would.
add 20 states so they could vote against him.
Hey, it is the War Room. Chuck, Stacy, Chad, along with, goodness, Gaydos and myself. It is a great conversation. We're so excited and so glad you guys made some time for us today. Here's the final question we want to ask as we wrap up the War Room today. What next? Can you push a president/candidate out? What does that process look like?
It is Bruce and Gaydos. Here we've got Chad Benson. He'll be on in an hour and 10 minutes on KTAR. Stacy Pearson, Democratic strategist, and Chuck Coughlin from HighGround.
The good and the great of the Valley all joining us right here.
So here is the next question, okay? Can Joe Biden be pushed out? You know, we keep talking about it has to be his decision. He's the one that has to step down.
Well, I only brought that up because you kept saying they have to make him leave or they have to make him not run. I go, who's they? Who's they?
Jill should be doing the right thing. His son shouldn't be anywhere near the White House, but apparently he is.
In inside cabinet
It's
meetings
ridiculous. Yeah. Okay.
I'd think less of him if he turned his back on his son.
What is it? The 19th Amendment? I mean,
Okay, so how do you do it? How do you do it?
Well, that would
He
be
should
it.
share some cocaine with his.
Oh, gosh.
How you do it?
Wake him up.
Jeez.
This is how you do it.
All right, hold on. Chad's got the
The
deal.
vice president has to go to the cabinet and get sign off that he is incapacitated, can no longer function.
That's
in
literally the
discharging
terminology, right?
Yes.
The president is incapacitated.
No longer can discharge the duties of the presidency.
This is the 25th Amendment.
And the vice president has to initiate that, and from there, the cabinet has to agree. Then they go to Congress and see what kind of votes they can get. And I think that she has to do it.
But Kamala Harris is never going to do that.
She is never going to do
Okay.
that. That's
So
why
that's
she's
one
never
way to-
going to be president.
That's one way to do it.
Well, other
very
cabinet officers can
Machiavellian.
bring it up.
They can, but she's got to sign off on it. She's got to be the one that is the head of it all.
What if she said? What if she went to the president and said, "Listen, I've got the votes. If we're going to do this one way or another, you're either going."
The votes for what?
Yeah. You can step down gracefully and move out of the way and give the Democrats a shot at winning.
Well, this is like, do you want to quit or be fired?
Yeah.
Right?
The problem is they don't have the cojones to fire. They have nothing but fake teeth, and they're trying to act like they've got these big fangs, because I don't think anybody does. I think they're hoping at some point in time he has this lucid moment and goes, I can't do this.
Well, this cacophony of sound, it's not dying away. Obviously, by the fact
It's
that we're
not.
talking about it,
Yeah.
everybody's going to continue to talk about it. He's going to have the big boy press conference tomorrow.
My God,
we
it's
all
like
know
He's
that's
sitting
not
down
going to.
with Lester Holt
Lester
this
Holt,
weekend, apparently.
He's going to keep trying this out. And by this time next week, it's going to be evident that this isn't going to go away. And
but
he's going to have to accept that.
I understand that timeline. Like, give me a week, give me 10 days.
NATO is here.
Let me
Don't
right this
embarrass me,
ship.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
let me right this ship. We've got the RNC next week. I can see that timeline.
Let me prove I can do it to you. Give me a week.
By the end of next week, though, it's go time.
How do I protect
Literally
my family?
go time.
How do I make sure that my family has them? By the way, just pardon Hunter for all of the stuff and move on.
Which you can do.
Which, by the way, it's going to get much worse, because I think that tax stuff that's coming up, that big thing in September, is going to be far worse for Joe than the gun thing.
He can prospectively pardon him, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he can clear up all of.
But he's already said he wouldn't.
He will.
Yeah,
But
I know he will.
We've got to go back to the question of, can he be pushed out? And really, if you look at it,
It's pretty difficult on purpose.
it's pretty difficult for the vice
Constitution
president.
made it difficult.
Right, and it should. Is there another way? Could you go to the Democratic National Convention? I guess you could change the rules. I mean, if things get really bad,
Delegates are committed. Arizona delegates aren't committed because we're an advisory vote.
Right.
But most delegates are committed on the first ballot to a candidate.
I heard that one of the delegates in California, Rishan, one of the big delegates, he said, I can't in good faith.
And they're calling
Yeah.
right now. The Biden White House and the campaign is calling those delegates right now to do an assessment. That will be done. It's being done, and that information will be shared. And I think there's going to be a lot of pushback.
I think that's a huge thing. If you go, hey, you don't no longer have none of these delegates want to vote for you. None of these delegates want to turn over any of these things to you.
Right.
The Democratic National Convention middle of August, is going to be more watched than the Super Bowl this year. I mean, it really is. Folks are going to be tuning into that to see how
what goes on the outside and the inside.
Don't you think the Democrats are missing out on an opportunity?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The people who normally wouldn't pay attention.
Well, this is the way.
This would be a reality show, like it or not.
This is the way the president used to get
Used to be, yeah.
You go to the
Conventions used to
convention.
be.
A bunch of guys in the back room smoking cigarettes at 3 a.m, waiting for the white smoke
I
to
can't
come
believe
out.
I'm saying this, but I miss those guys.
Yeah.
Bring in the guys in the White House,
Okay,
please.
last one for the war room. I want to go around the room. Is Biden dropping out in the next, let's say, 14 days? Chuck?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
So we all think he is. Does he know that he's about to drop out? and I'm not saying that because of a cognitive thing.
I think
Does
he's
he not made
aware
that
of the
decision
pressure.
yet?
No, I don't think the bubble has burst. The bubble is going to have that conversation with him. Jill is going to have that conversation with him. That is going to be that's going to be the point in which he'll know.
All right.
Who's going to have the conversation with her?
Yeah.
Or we could do like a Dave thing. We put him in a basement in the White House, get a body double up there.
I love
and
that
rock
show.
it. I love that movie.
All right. Hey, we really appreciate it. Outstanding work on the War Room every Wednesday at 5 p.m. We're going to put together a group. Might be some of these people again coming back. You never know.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.